Welcome, welcome, Alessandra. Yeah, I got caught there thinking out live. We are definitely live right now. So delighted to have you on this audacious conversation. And I would love for you to introduce yourself with something audacious.
Oh my goodness, Alina, you should have warned me. Introduce myself with something audacious?
You've got so much,
Would it
so
be
you're just going to have to
audacious
pick one.
would it be audacious to tell our listeners that I'm so tired this morning? I am. I am. I am a mother and of children, and my 14-year-old had food poisoning yesterday.
Mm,
So it doesn't matter if you're CEO of your company. It doesn't matter if you're a thought partner to some of the most incredible leaders. It doesn't matter if usually the issues you're dealing with is how to keep a company open, or in the case of one of my clients, how to make sure that her father gets out of Beirut and into the States. In the middle of the night when you have a little human body standing over
mm.
you, which they still do at 14, the same way they did at 2, and say, Mommy, I threw up. You're up. You're in the bathroom. And then every time you hear the door open, you're up again in the bathroom. So yeah, that is the reality of where I am and who I am today.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much for yeah, opening up with that, Alessandra. And I didn't warn you. I wasn't sure whether I should, but I knew you would take it. And one of the things that you and I were talking about, my definition of audacity is, um, the three pillars: care, courage, and nonconformity. And you said, "Oh, nonconformity is me, Alina," and yet you started with the care. So paradoxical, hey?
Yes, and I would argue that in nonconformity, a lot of times people try to pretend that all is fine. One of the things I try never to do is when somebody asks, "How are you? How are things going?" to answer fine if it's not true, and to answer without actually giving an answer.
Hmm.
So yes, I started with care, and you are right. It is such an easy place for me to go.
Well, tell me more. Tell me more, because I know, I mean, we can explore any of those, but why is it easy for you to go on with care? I'm curious now.
Well, there are a couple things. A very quick background to
Mm.
your listeners who probably do not know me. I started my career as a clinical psychologist. And like all clinical psychologists, people who are in that therapy space, there are 1,000 personal reasons why. So I start with care because that's where I started. When
Mhm.
I was first born, I was born because a sister of mine drowned, and my role in utero as an embryo was to take care of people who were in a space
Mm.
of grief. So whether there's something that happened in the womb there or something just that happened naturally, the way I have gone in life. These days, I'm no longer a clinical psychologist, but my job is to my mission is to ensure that the leaders I believe, the humans I believe who are capable of changing the world, have the drive, the desire.
Mm.
I don't want people doing it because there's a cause that they feel they have to sacrifice themselves for. So the desire and the capacity to do so. Um, and the first core value of my business is love.
Mm.
Care to me is everything. I, I so foundationally believe that when you truly care about a cause, a person, a way you do something, that it's worth the time you put in it and you get a return in spades from it.
Mm. So true. And I love that one of the top values of your business is love. Because it's, even talking about that one word in the business context is not always fully understood. And yet there's so much to it.
It is, but I know the way you. So for your listeners, I know you a
Hmm.
little bit. I know you outside of this interview. I know the way you've built your company. I know the way you care about the women you work for. I mean, I would be surprised, even if it's not stated, if love or care, I mean, care clearly has to be a core value for Adapta, right?
Well, it's, I mean, as you know, even the book says leading
Yeah.
with care, courage, and nonconformity. So care is, and I deliberated. I even remember because when I wrote the book, I had courage and the care, and I started with courage, care, and nonconformity, and then I swapped.
Mhm.
Interestingly, that's also the place that I go to first.
Yeah.
Um,
And people feel it, right? I don't know about you, but if you were to talk to any one of my clients right now, they would tell you they might even use the word love.
mm,
Alessandra comes with love. She cares deeply. There's a cost to that. There's
mhm,
a really if we slip into courage for a second, there's a really big cost to caring about people. It's
mhm,
easy to not make good business decisions when you care
mhm,
a lot about people in the short run, or to make things that don't look like good business decisions in the short run. Um, I think it's easier to find your courage when you care for people. So it's easier to sacrifice when it's needed, to do things that are scary, to take the risks, to act despite fear, which is what courage is
mm,
for me. Um, so yes, the word love is strange, but I added that last year because it is the first word that comes to mind. I I love what I do. Like I love it so much, and I have adapted my business over the last 13 years to make sure that I continue waking up in the morning and love what I do. And when I don't, I shift and tweak and change my business and correct course. That includes making sure that I love working with the people I work with and love who they are at the foundation. I have a very cynical husband who just says sometimes, why don't you just work with these people because they'll just pay? And I'm like, because I cannot stand behind what they stand for or how they operate. I like that would be contractual, not
yeah, the transactional piece.
yes,
Yes, I
transactional,
get you.
not relational.
And I'd love to. I mean, actually, what do you love of what? What do you love about what you do today, Alessandra?
You, I will answer that. It's hard to answer because it's like saying, "What do you love about your children?" But there are a
Mhm,
couple things. There's an impact piece. This was true when I was a psychologist. So I'll start and I'll explain because it's the same thing. When I was a psychologist, one of my areas of specialty was extreme anxiety. And early in my career, actually,
mm,
I was a child psychologist. I would have people come in who had been for years in these states of distress,
mm,
stagnation, bordering on hopelessness, and I could see the other side of that. Like I saw it. They couldn't see it, but I saw it. There was nothing in my mind, and if I didn't see it, I wouldn't have been working with them because then they're
mhm,
hopeless, and you don't keep
mhm,
people in that
mhm,
space. So watching that transformation from somebody being in a certain place or state in their life, in where they are psychologically, emotionally, functionally, and being with them as they move to the next level, it's
mhm,
so gratifying.
mhm,
It is so incredible to see what happens. So even today, I put something, and one of my former clients came back and said something about the impact I had. And that's it. Like it is this moment where you sit and you go, oh yeah, all this work was worth it. So even
mhm,
with my clients today, who tend to be women in the C-suite or senior executives, some are business owners, a lot work in larger companies, who are very successful in their own right, but trying to figure out, I compare them sometimes to Beyonce, right? They're super successful and they're like,
mhm,
how do I maintain my love and my engagement and the excitement? Maybe they make a country album, maybe
mhm,
they change things up. Or there are people who have gotten to the top and are very successful on paper, but there's this disconnect, this misalignment internally between what they're doing and how they're operating and the people they are now. I see that other side, right?
mhm,
And that other side, I'm like, oh, the things you will be able to do, how we maintain that engine so that you continue to be incredibly successful, to maintain high levels of impact, but also to wake up in the morning and feel about your life the way I feel about work. I mean, that's it. To that moment, I don't know how to explain it, but it is like I feel it in my body. I
mhm,
feel as if somebody had opened up a jar of light
mhm,
my chest. That is the way I feel. And we do it, right? That is so being able to go, that's not just a vision. It's a reality of the work we
mhm,
do. I know it's a reality of the work you do too. And knowing that in our small way, we make the
Mm.
system better because we make these leaders, we give them the capacity to be the people they wanted to be, to make the change they want to make, and to have an impact in the system. I don't know. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think for it's easy. It's about giving them the capacity. I think you said. So I'm curious because you work a lot with women, as you said, this sort of C-suite that they're already hugely accomplished, and yet, to sustain that success or even take it to the next level, there's usually something very small that's missing, and it's finding that. And my work is very much in the corporate world, so and it's in the finance world. So that's where I operate with women, and it's usually very few. I mean, there are very few of them at that level. So how can they still operate that political landscape in a way that stays aligned with who they are, as you said, with that sort of authenticity, which it's an overused word, but it's true. So what do you find in your world? What's that little switch for them?
It's pausing.
Mm.
You know this, I know this because I started with women in finance, and weirdly enough, I started with women in finance in London. And I
Mhm.
am San Diego based for the listeners, but I started with women in finance in London. And what I would find is these women who had set a vision for themselves at some point in their life and got caught in a system where they had to work 3, 4, 5 times as hard as anybody else. I would meet women in London who would have a master's from Cambridge, a master's from Oxford, would be working on a certification, all in the hopes of hitting MD, and they would hit these ceilings. And I would spend time with women who were so lost in the pursuit of the initial thing that they wanted in
Mhm.
their 20s or their 30s or even their early 40s. They never slowed down to consider whether A, the thing that they were pursuing is still what they wanted,
Mhm.
B, the way they were pursuing it is the way they wanted to operate, and C, whether the life that they had outside of that pursuit was in alignment with who they are. This is very interesting, especially again coming from the background as a child psychologist, is there's this whole attention
Mm.
paid to development of identity between ages 0 and 18, maybe ages 0 and 25.
Mhm.
And then it's like we forget that we continue to evolve as humans. So for me, the switch is the pause. It's probably the most important thing I teach my clients, and is to learn how to slow down so that
Mhm.
we can do things like assessing how
Mm.
they're feeling, what's in,
Mm.
asking the right questions, not just asking them, but answering the right questions. Moving from reactivity into responsiveness, and
Mhm.
responsiveness that comes from internal, like that they become their internal compass as opposed to trying to fit what other people say they should want, they should be, uh, they should operate.
Mm.
The pause is as and it's I mean, it's hard, right, Alina? It's hard to get these women to slow down. It's hard to get them to realize that being asked questions is actually more powerful than being taught a skill.
Mhm. For
That
sure. For
taking
sure.
time to answer those questions will change more in them than 6 weeks of a course on executive presence or how to
Mhm.
negotiate a deal.
Totally. And actually, what makes me really smile, Alessandra, because you and I are part of the same community, the sort of 4PC with Rich Lidvin. And you and I were together in Granada last year. Well, actually, last week, not last year, last week in Spain.
I don't
And it was a lot of that identity work. So we do that work. And when you said pause, it's like, don't we know we sort of work or we preach what we need most to learn? Because for me, that's also the same thing. I just need to remember to pause. And yeah, that's a lot of the work that we do. And we hear Rich saying a lot. I now sort of say it all the time: slow down to speed up, Alina. Do that pausing and reassess what is the next level, and don't use, again, what we wanted 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Allow yourself that space to
Yeah.
reassess.
I mean, thinking about the work we did in Granada, it was 95% internal work for me. And so I came out of there. It's not that everything that came up weren't things I knew It's that they hit in different ways. It's the
Mm-hmm.
scope of how certain working theories for how I operate. It was realizing actually how much more generalized they were. It was slowing down enough to think about how much more affected I was by them than I thought, or how much less ahead in terms of working with them I was. And when I came back, it was wonderful because I could sit down, and even just last week, I had this moment of finding something out in my business that was good. And there was this part of me that felt, oh, I'm not in this. I've created this, but I'm not in this. And realizing, oh, that's an old thing. That's an old metric of mine that says that in order to have value, you have to be in the conversation, that it's
Mm-hmm.
not enough to have created the opportunity for the conversation to happen. And that if the conversation takes place and evolves on its own without you, that is good enough. And it was so nice from a business standpoint, not
Mm-hmm.
from an internal, to be able to go, oh, I'm good. Like, I don't need to engage in this. I don't need to do anything more. This is actually a massive win. And what that did for me from a business perspective, from a career perspective, is I didn't work extra hard to,
Mm-hmm.
to create more visibility around value. Doing that in iteration throughout my career means giving me time to do all the other things I need to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
so when I talk to my clients, they're always very surprised, but because I start with care, I build trust very rapidly. So the blind faith, we start with a lot of blind faith, that
Mm-hmm.
eventually they start realizing, these questions that are not what they thought they were coming in for. I think a lot of women come into coaching expecting remedial coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want things to be fixed. They want to be up leveled in their skills. And when they come to me, my job again is a thought partner. It's an advisor. It's a mirror. I am here to tell you the things nobody else is going to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
to hold you to the standards you're setting for yourself, to help you establish what those standards are. That these questions not only transform how they operate in their businesses, but in their marriages, in their relationships with other
Sure.
people, in their lives with themselves.
Mm.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
It,
That too. It's fun.
it is fun. Yeah, and it's actually that's wonderful. That's where, that the love word that you just used as we started is when you love what you're doing, that will show, it will show up in so many different ways. Um, and the energy again doesn't lie. But it's interesting you sort of mentioned one of the things that's come, and now we're live, and I didn't even think about it. We played last week the Traitors game.
Yeah.
And talk about immersion and really identifying some old patterns that I mean, for me, certainly, I'm speaking from my own perspective, that I wasn't aware. There was just such many of those sort of blind spots that you can not only, but you so much more rapidly discover through playing.
Mhm.
Through sort of games. And I'm sure, you do group work, I do group work. I think that's a very powerful way of discovering patterns is through play, through games.
It is. There's a certain quality of person who's really good at
Mm-hmm.
playing games. I'll be very honest. I'm not sure. I mean, great at playing games if you take me outside, but in my business and figuring out what those games are, I don't know. That's one of the things I love about being in group. There you get exposed to ideas, perspectives, techniques for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but really like points of view that are very different, that allow you to now see yourself in different ways, see how you operate in different way, look at what sounds interesting that you might want to try on, that might or might
Mm-hmm.
not fit, and what clearly does not feel like it's aligned. And so you can let go of that. There is this spaciousness that is created from being able to be in different points of views. And you and I have talked about this, that with the leaders we work with, it's hard sometimes to convince them
Mm-hmm.
that a group is the right format for the work they need to do. My clients
Mm-hmm.
want to work one-on-one with me. Well, there's only one of me, and working with me it's a true luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I've created groups. I know you create many, many groups that are designed very specifically to help with certain transformations, a level of support. I mean, the women we work with, I'm going to assume you say the same, mine do. Uh, they're lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a leader, period, can be very lonely. You get, especially when you get really far to the top, you get to a place where everybody's counting on you. Everybody assumes you have the answers. Everybody assumes if you don't have the answers, you should know how to find them. Um, every decision you make has consequences that go far beyond you. And it's hard to feel like you can truly openly talk
Mm-hmm.
to people about what's going on. One of my clients wanted me to talk with her former CEO, now COO of her company, and he's trying to figure out what right for him looks like, and he has two incredible confidants: his spouse and my client.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I pointed out to him, I'm like, I find that fantastic. It's incredible that these people are your confidants, but you can't be fully open with either of them. Then he argued with me. I'm like, no, you can't, because every decision you make is going to affect one of them. Therefore, whether you realize it or not, you are censoring somewhere. Can you really tell, like, openly say these things? I'm like, that's where having, first of all, a coach can be
Mm-hmm.
really useful, because a person who's not attached to the outcome of the decisions you're making will give you, if nothing more, the space to actually think through the options and the opportunities. But when you have a group of other people who
Yes.
are not just operating as a coach, but who are operating as peers who understand what it's like to be in that bind in that moment, and who aren't there to give you advice, but who are there to help you think through the problem in different ways because they were going to think out loud with you, it's invaluable. And it's a massive accelerant. The work we do in 4PC, I can do it on my own. I have been doing it on my own for years. And
Mm-hmm.
yet 1 5-day week was a massive accelerant to insights that I've held since I was 26. That's 22 years of knowing this stuff.
Totally. And it's very powerful. And you're absolutely right. It's interesting that people some resist to come into sort of the group work for all sorts of reasons. And I mean, there is value in the one-to-one. That's very
Yes.
powerful. As you said, it's a luxury. And when you have a group, small groups, I mean, we work with groups, intimate groups of 8, like our inspiring women, or the women in power, and we work with bigger groups within the corporate. So we've had both programs, open programs where they come from different organizations and they get together, or one organization which we can go to a slightly bigger, 15, 20. And there's benefits and cost to both of those, and having your peers witnessing you in the same way as we do it within 4PC, and seeing it from different lenses and different angles. It's truly is invaluable, and it's interesting. It's not there to, I mean, you could argue both ways. Not there to give you advice, and when they do give you advice, it's also amazing.
Yeah.
Whether you want to take it or not, that's a different thing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I was pointing out to somebody I was talking to, I have a client who has been a one-on-one client for 3 years, and I'm encouraging her to move into our group elite executive this year. And part of it is she and I have established such a strong, trusting relationship. There are a lot of things that we talk about or that we're working on right now that I think part of her can just say without fully feeling, because the trust is there 100% in me, in my non-judgment of her, in my support of her, in my ability to contain or hold what she's working on. But saying those same things in a group of other people, now that would feel risky. We had a retreat last year, and she happened to be the only person who wasn't part of Elite Executive in that retreat. And I pointed out to her, I'm like, you saw those women, you saw the bonds they had, you saw the depth to which they took the conversations we were having in that retreat. And having been a member of my community and of my clients come together for peer advisory and things like that, which is different from my Elite Executive group. So even my one-on-ones get to benefit from group aspects of things, at least strategic problem solving. I said, you've been part of this community for 3 years. You recognize that the level of depth, integration, but also the bond between these women is completely different. And it is a function of being put in a space where they learn that how to trust one another with things that they're not talking about to anybody else. and eventually how to really get the most out of that that engagement. And to
Yeah.
I find it so fun, and we're a little bit bigger. We right now we have 5 women in the group, but our max is
Mhm.
15.
Mhm.
But still, the goal is it has to be intimate. You can't. I don't know how to put 100 people in a room and make it feel intimate. I know Rich can do that sometimes. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, he's scaling intimacy as well. Although, and it's interesting you talking about retreats because it's almost like a different way of getting groups together. So I also have my own, the Audacious Leaders Retreat in Transylvania every spring. So we're going there, 30th. So on the 22nd, 23rd of April in 3 weeks now. And then that's a group of 14, which for us, it's because the hotel only allows us maximum 20 and we want to have Tatiana and I as a group, and it's a wonderful, for me, that
Mhm.
15 is probably a great size to hold the intimacy and create some incredible bonds in a short period of time.
It's a sweet spot for sure.
So I'm curious, as I said, so for you, you mentioned the group, and do you do the retreat as part of the group, or they are two different things like we do?
I did my very first retreat last year because I've been saying for years, if I look back, I've kept work journals for 10 years now, and I would see this repeating. And last year, I'm in the US, so there are 1,000
Mhm.
reasons, especially working with women, where my initial best laid plans were laid asunder. Um, and I had this huge plan of doing a retreat abroad, of making it very luxurious, and it just wasn't going to happen. There's so
Mhm.
many layoffs here for women. I know so many women at the C-suite level who are not able to find work, who are going through really protracted periods of
Mhm.
unemployment. People are anxious. Uh, so I tried it, and I realized I will never do a retreat on my own again. I want to do it with the genius of at least one other coach so that we can um, share the responsibility, share the vision, and that play that you're talking about, really start pinging off of each other to create these experiences. What I did love is the women who were in that group, and in particular, the one woman I'm thinking of right now, but not just her. We did a 3-day retreat, so it was very short, but in a matter of 3 days, just hit this level of depth and a
Mm.
shift. I've been trying to get her to work on certain things for a long time. And through that retreat, we were able to accelerate that, putting her in this group and in this intensive context and
Mm.
get this momentum. That was fabulous to see.
And yes, actually, Alessandra, it's interesting you mentioned the sort of co-partnership. For me, all of the retreats that I've done, they were at least with one other co-pilot. Tatiana has always been there with me, and over the years we've had other collaborators. We had Sylvia, we had Carmen. Previous to that, I had. So I wouldn't. Well, never say never. And I'm not as these days I'm not as categorical as I used to do. But I love much more to do it as a partnership
Mhm.
because everybody wins. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes really fun for everybody. And again, to me, it's about learning. One of the things that I've loved in 4PC is watching how different people coach,
Mm-hmm.
watching we might all globally have the same desired impact, in terms of our clients, but how we go about it, how the different personalities come into play, it's really interesting. I am very much looking forward to learning, but also partnering, right? Be adding and having added on to my coaching through work with others.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, this sort of, yeah, the unlikely collaborations is what Rich would say. So I'm curious, as we are at time, where would people find you? Where would these wonderful women find you?
2 places right now. One is on LinkedIn, and the
Hmm.
handle is, oh, I can't remember if it's Dr. Alessandra Wall or Alessandra Wall PhD, but you'll
I
find me.
think it's Alessandra Wall PhD because why I know it? Because when I tagged you, you're in LinkedIn, I was looking at sort of, PhD or doctor, and then I realized it's at the end. So
Yeah.
here you go,
So that's one place.
Alessandra.
The other place
Hmm.
is my website. And I will say this about my website. We are making sure that, speaking of alignment, my brand currently, as it's represented externally, is aligned with the work I'm doing now. So you can find me to connect with me on the website, which is Noteworthy Inc. That's inc.co. And then we'll let you know when, in probably a month from now, we'll actually have the brand new website up and running, but it'll be the same address. But everything anybody needs to contact me is either on LinkedIn or on my website.
Fabulous. Yeah, and looking forward to getting to see the sort of new branded Alessandra. I'm sure when it's ready on LinkedIn, we'll promote it.
Well,
So
internal work first, right, before external. So I did the internal transformation and the work with my clients first, and after a couple of years, I'm like, oh, we should make sure that the external is matching the internal.
Oh God, I'm the same in that sort of same soup, as I call it. We are also, that's a big project, trying to align now the website, because we're celebrating 10 years of Adapta. So it's like, what will the next 10 years look like? So
Congratulations.
It's a big project. But thank you. It was absolutely a pleasure and delight to have you in this conversation today.
It's so good to see you. I'm so excited that I get to see you in September in person again. But I'll see you way before this week. Get to see you this week.
Way
but
before
in
that.
person in September. Very much looking forward to it. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for your energy, your time, your wisdom to be repeated. Thank you.